Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi of Illinois is a member of both the House Oversight and the Intelligence Committees, and he's with us now from Chicago. Sir, thanks for being with us.
Sure thing, Brianna. Thank you.
So first of all, what is your reaction to Rod Rosenstein's decision to stay on longer? Because according to sources, he wants to be around to absorb the punches if there's any fallout from the Mueller report.
Well, I think a lot of us on Capitol Hill have been glad that Rod Rosenstein has done everything to try to protect the Mueller investigation from outside interference. So his continued presence is a good thing, in my opinion.
I also want to ask you about something the president just said. He said he doesn't mind if the public sees Robert Mueller's report. How do you square that with the White House expecting to see the Mueller report before Congress as they look possibly to exert executive privilege?
Well, they might be trying to have it both ways. On the one hand, they want to, have people review the report potentially with an eye toward concealing parts of it from the public. But on the other hand, he knows that saying that hiding the Mueller report is his policy is a loser in terms of public opinion. You just saw this the other day. 420 members of the House voted in favor of releasing the report, and that unanimous sentiment in the House, I think, also mirrors what the public wants too.
Now, that was held in the Senate because of Senator Lindsey Graham, we should point out.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And which some folks read into because he has been supportive of the president in many ways. So when you look at this, the White House having this report before Congress, do you think that part of it is prepping a PR message to combat whatever is in the report? Or are you worried that they are going to successfully argue that some or a lot of the report should be redacted?
Well, in my humble opinion, aside from national security concerns or classified information, which obviously should be withheld from public consumption, the rest of the report should be turned over along with the evidence supporting the report. If it's not, obviously folks like Adam Schiff and others on other committees can also subpoena the report as well as the underlying documents, as well as Robert Mueller to come forward and explain any gaps that might exist in William Barr's recounting or summary of that report to Congress.
Do you trust this Justice Department to make sure the White House doesn't get in the way of Congress getting the full story here? Because you're talking about subpoenas. It sounds like perhaps you do not.
I hope it doesn't come to a subpoena, Brianna. I think that, as I said, the House voted overwhelmingly the other day to have the public see this report. I think the American people deserve that, and they're demanding that. So anything less is something that I hope people on both sides will object to. Certainly we will, and I think that's why the American people wanted us to be in the majority, to serve as a check and balance on the White House, especially with regard to this Mueller investigation.
So you are on the Oversight Committee. Your chairman, Elijah Cummings, says the White House hasn't turned over any requested documents for any investigation, and there's a number of them. You've got the review of White House security clearances. There's an investigation of the president's hush money payments to women he allegedly had affairs with. White House officials' use of personal email in violation of federal law. That's a question that your committee is looking into. What are Democrats prepared to do to get those documents?
Well, I think Chairman Cummings is one of the most reasonable, patient members of Congress you're ever going to find. He has been patiently requesting voluntary compliance with document requests over a number of months, and yet the White House refuses to turn over documents. And they did this, by the way, with Republican committee chairmen as well. Now that we're in the majority, we know that we're in the majority because the American people want us to serve as a check and balance.
So what can you do?
If they don't turn these documents over, as Chairman Cummings says within the op-ed, they should not be surprised to receive some subpoenas at this point, because we need answers to serious questions about serious controversies. I'll just point out one. The security clearance process is messed up. The fact that Jared Kushner could have access to top secret materials, despite the fact that every law enforcement official who's looked at it says that he should not, is a serious problem.
But if they sweep aside the subpoena, if they don't comply with the subpoena, what options do you have?
Well, I think that we would probably try to enforce the subpoena in court. Unfortunately, it could go to litigation. I would just respectfully say that the White House would be better served through voluntary compliance with document requests than actually meeting with a subpoena, which could ask for a much more sweeping set of documents and materials and witnesses. And therefore, I think voluntary compliance might be the best course for them. That being said, we are not going to wait for voluntary compliance to get access to the materials.
Is that the strategy, to tell them if they're not going to volunteer some materials, the scope is going to be much broader and you're going to work to compel them to reveal even more and for this to be even more painful for them?
Well, it's not about pain. It's about having access to more documents and materials potentially in scope, because we may not be able to trust the White House to actually answer the voluntary requests as honestly and in the spirit of good faith that we would want them to show. And therefore, I think it would be best in the best interest to answer the voluntary requests right now and allow us to review the materials. And then obviously we would want to question witnesses as well.
All right, Congressman.